Pharmacist Ben.
That's me, man. That song's growing on me there, AJ. I like that.
That's the plan.
Yeah, I'm liking it.
Bit by bit, we're just gonna turn you to the dark side. How are you?
Good. Is that like something you like, or is that just something you found somewhere and you like the sound of it, or is that music you listen to?
Becca picked it. Becca is the one who put that together.
Super nice. I like that.
And welcome everybody to another episode of Pharmacist Ben's Bytes. I'm thrilled to be here with you. And Pharmacist Ben, we got a couple questions here tonight that we want to address.
Yeah. Okay.
How was your weekend? Anything exciting go on? Anything in the news we should know about? What's going on?
Oh, yeah. Actually, now that you mention it, I got 3 interesting articles I was going to tell you about. Or actually 2. Well, I thought there was 3. Hang on. Yeah, 3. Now, two interesting, one for everybody. One's interesting for me. I like it. So I don't know if you want.
You gotta talk about 3 because now you got.
All right. Well, the first one is about zinc slowing down Alzheimer's disease progression. The second one is about a condition called polycystic ovarian syndrome, or PCOS. Have you heard of this?
Yeah,
PCOS.
Absolutely.
PCOS. You know your stuff, AJ. I've never ceased to be stop being amazed by how much you know. I'm being serious. PCOS linked to cardiometabolic risks, not just infertility. So I like this because it really shows you how everything is all linked together. Somebody can go in with heart disease or some kind of metabolic issue, and their PCOS, or actually I think for PCOS, and nobody will, or PCOS symptoms like infertility or skin problems or menstrual problems, and nobody will think to connect it to blood sugar or insulin. So this article is really interesting to me. We can talk about that. And then this one, I love this one. This is from this is one of my favorites. I have certain papers that I really love because they really, really highlight some of my basic premises and ideas that we talk about here on this program. This is from the Journal of Molecular Liquids on the electrical properties of collagen macromolecule solutions, the role of collagen-water interactions. So what does this mean? It means your collagen is tying up the water to hold you in place. Our water, our body is, you've heard it said our body is 60, 70% water, right, AJ?
Sir.
Right? So when you think about it, how does that make sense that your body's 60, 70% water? You would be a puddle sloshing around. You'd go slosh, slosh, slosh every time you walked. Obviously, that doesn't happen. Why? Because the water is locked up and structured by collagen, among other things, minerals, and there's a few things that do it. But collagen is one of the main things that does it. High hyaluronic acid does it. The water in our body that is 60 to 70% of our water, as well as the water in our cells and the water outside our cells, is mostly a magical kind of water. When we think of water, we think there's just one kind of water. Water is water, water. No. There's all kinds of different ways water can be manipulated. Water is H2O, right?
Yes, sir.
So a glass of water, a bottle of water here is H2O, but it's not just H2O. It's H2O molecules. And it's septillion, nonillion, whatever, a Googleillion. You can't imagine how many molecules of water are in this little jug here. It's not even calculable, but it's a huge, huge number. And so you want to think of water, if you want to understand this whole principle of different kinds of water, you want to think of the water as like a canvas made up of H2Os, countless H2Os, right? Kind of like Light Bright. Do you remember Light Bright when you were a kid? There was a toy called Light Bright, right? And you could make pictures out of it. It was all just lights. Well, water is a bunch of H2O molecules. However, this is where it gets really cool. In tap water, or so-called bulk water, the kind of water most of us think of when we think of water, the H2O molecules are scattered about. They're everywhere. They're willy-nilly. They're not organized. However, by the addition of certain substances to the water, or the interaction with certain substances with the water, that water becomes organized. It becomes structured in a magical crystalline form. this beautiful, gorgeous form that has a coherency that allows energy to flow through it quickly, like instantly. It becomes electrically active. It stores information. It processes information. It allows information to travel. It becomes an entirely different, it becomes like an organ. Your water becomes like an organ by the action of all of these molecules. Well, this paper talks about collagen. The reason this is important is because as we age, the hallmark sign of the deterioration or degenerative process is a breakdown in collagen. And that's why anti-aging is all about collagen. Because as we age, all of the yucky things we hate about aging are a function of deterioration of our collagen. Now, it's not just collagen, but that's the main protein in the body. That's the main one. There's also hyaluronic acid and elastin and reticulin. It's the connective tissue in general. The collagen is the most important and the most dramatic protein, and the one everybody knows about. So when the collagen starts to deteriorate, obviously, you get scoliosis and osteoporosis and muscle weakness, but you also get heart disease. You also get vascular disease. You also get organ failure, and most importantly, and not most importantly, but for what we're talking about here today, with this article, as we age, AJ, blobify.
Absolutely.
We lose our angles. Everything sags, right? That's what we hate about aging, is we turn into a blob. That blobification is the end result of the collagen deteriorating and the water being released. So now instead of organized, coherent water, now you've got disorganized water. And because the water is critical, absolutely critical, for maintaining the electricity, the electrical charges around cells. And remember, cells are electrical before they're chemical. It's all electrical. And the electrical energy in the cell is dependent on the electrical energy in the water and the other things that are interacting with the water. And as we blobify, we lose all that. That's what aging is. So all of this is to say, building the connective tissue is the key to anti-aging. And that's why the Healthy Bone and Joint Pack is so important. And anything you do to build collagen, and you don't have to raise your hand. Not your teacher here, Mr. AJ.
Well,
Does this make sense?
I want to be semi-polite.
Okay. Yes.
When you said, I've heard you say this before, and I've heard you talk about the electrical characteristics of collagen before.
Yes. Yes.
And but what came to mind was sculpture class when we used to use chicken wire, and we would use like plaster of Paris.
Yeah.
Sort of.
And the chicken wire would be the collagen. The chicken wire would be the collagen inside.
Yeah.
Like the plaster pairs would be right. Yeah, that's a very good analogy.
Yeah,
yes.
But it's more, I can kind of see.
Well, I think I'm not a I don't know much about construction, I admit. But I know that when you have cement or concrete, I'm not sure the difference between cement or concrete, but when you have one of them, you have metal in there.
It reinforces. They would have the metal.
Right. What's that called? Rebar? Is that what that's called?
Or they would have chicken wire. I mean, it's
or chicken wire
type of thing.
That's how the body is. That's how the connective tissue is. The hyaluronic acid, which you've heard of, I'm sure, and other substances like hyaluronic acid, chondroitin and such, they hold water. And squeeze your earlobe right now. Squeeze your earlobe. See if it's squishy, right?
Yeah.
It feels like that. And then within that squishiness, you have wire, rebar, chicken wire. And that's what gives the body the connective tissue, the bones, the gums, the fascia, all of the places where we have connective tissue in the body, the vasculature. That's what gives it its strength and resilience, is the combination of the fibers and goo, the rebar, collagen, elastin, reticulin, and the polysaccharides, chondroitin and dextran, and there's a whole bunch of them. I don't even know all of them, but the most important one is hyaluronic. Most famous one is hyaluronic acid, but there's a bunch of them. Yes, fucoilin's not in the body. There's no fucoiline really in the body. However, fucoiline has something in it, has a lot of stuff in it. Has a component of fucoiline is in the body. And one of the components of fucoiline is arguably the most underappreciated molecule in the body from a nutritional standpoint. Nobody ever thinks about it, but it's critically valuable for all kinds of functions. And something called sulfate, not sulfur, but sulfate. Sulfate is oxygen and sulfur together, and it has incredible properties. And sulfate, pounding the body with sulfate, is one of the best things you could do from a health perspective. You get sulfates from foods, but fucoidan is also a source of sulfates, in addition to the actual polysaccharide itself, the fucoidan. Fucoidan is a complex that has a whole bunch of stuff in it. Fucose is the sugar that gives fucoidan its name, fucose. And it has nothing to do with me. They didn't name it after me.
Is it spelled like that? Oh, that's great.
No. Fucose. No, it's not spelled. It's not spelled that way.
Okay, that's very funny. All right. Well, as soon as Elise comes back, we'll bring her on. I want to say,
what was Elise? Tell me, remind me what Elise wants to talk about.
Elise has a question about her client who is dealing with sciatica and some other things.
Oh yeah, the back pain.
Back pain. But Elise, if you can hang out with us for a minute, because I do need Pharmacist Ben to talk about our topic first, which
is the foods.
Which is the foods, and
I'm going to talk about it a little bit because I want to answer questions, but I'll talk about it a little bit.
Briefly,
it's really important.
But by the way, in the article that you talked about, when they talked about zinc, did they give a dosage that would be beneficial?
That they used here in the study.
Okay.
Yeah. Probably they did here. Oh, you know what? I only printed out the first 2 pages. I didn't print out the whole thing.
No.
I'm sure they did. Let me see if I can find it anywhere here. 35 milligrams per kilogram.
What do you think about
that? They gave it to mice, though. It was for mice, and they gave it 35 milligram per kilogram is that's a bunch of zinc. Figure you weigh 100 kilo. I'm guessing if you weigh 200, if somebody weighs 200 pounds, if somebody weighs 70 pounds, they're about 160. 70 kilograms are about 160 pounds. So this would be a ridiculous amount of zinc. I don't even know how they could even talk about it. Or diet deficient in zinc. Let me see. Disease fed for a control. I got to read about it. But it was really interesting. The reason I found this interesting is because zinc is involved in sugar metabolism and brain health, and both of which play a role in dementia, in Alzheimer's dementia. So it makes perfect sense that zinc would be helpful for folks dealing with dementia. And that gets to understanding chemistry. If you understand chemistry or biochemistry, you don't need a paper like this. I just thought it was cool to talk about it with people, but it makes perfect sense that zinc would be important for brain health. We know that zinc deficiency causes brain issues in children. So obviously, taking zinc could help slow down the progression of Alzheimer's disease. And you got to wonder about kids, getting to your subject of processed food. You got to wonder about our kids who are going off to school ingesting pretty much only processed food or ultra processed food. So, if your kid is having bacon and Pop-Tarts and English muffins and cereal and orange juice and, the typical things kids have for breakfast, of course they're going to have deficiencies in key nutrients and mental health issues and brain health issues, not to mention. What's that?
Why, of course?
Because the wrong foods, as we'll talk about here when we talk about ultra processed foods, supply the energy, but not the nutrients that help you use the energy. And this, in a nutshell, is the biggest problem we have with health in our country, is that we get the energy, but not the I'll say nutrients, but we'll say molecules that help the body utilize the energy. So energy is flooding into the system, particularly the cells, particularly the organelles called the mitochondria in the cells. But we don't have the nutrients that allow the body to utilize that energy. So you get all of this energy that the body can't work with, can't do anything with, and it ends up burning out the mitochondria, or it gets stashed away as fat, but it doesn't get used for making things, for producing things. And in fact, using these kinds of high energy foods without the nutrients that help the body utilize the nutrients of foods creates another metabolic issue, and that is the body mobilizes for building. Think about it. You're putting sugar into the system, energy, we'll say, into the system. To the body, that means it's time to build. The body builds when there's energy. So the body sees lots of energy, says it's time to build. So what is the prime building substance in the body for building cells, for building tissue?
Insulin.
No, that's the trigger. That's the activator. The main building substance is cholesterol. And so we've tricked the body into thinking that it's going to be building, but it's not building. It can't build. So you get all the chemistry of building, the cholesterol and the cell division, but you don't get the actual building because you don't have the micronutrients, not to mention that you're sedentary. So between being sedentary and not having the micronutrients and the high input of energy, you have pretty much in a nutshell one of the most significant health challenges that human beings face in the year 2025. And the irony of it is that we're doing it to ourselves. And we're doing it to ourselves through a food supply that has been created not for health, but for economics. And because it's not there for health, it's for economics, its focus is not nutritional value, but rather palatability, tastefulness, tastiness. You follow? Foods are crafted to be tasty, not healthy. But the tastiness is insidious. It's not necessarily a tastiness like, oh, this is delicious. It's a tastiness that, oh, I can't stop. Because it's activating a part of your brain that is hooked into being responsive to the things that are put in the food at a chemical level. There are molecules that aren't delicious when you eat them. They're not tasty necessarily, but to your brain, it makes your brain go, yippee. Your brain becomes very happy. They call these things excitotoxins because they make your brain very excited. And these excitotoxins are often disguised on the ingredient text, so you don't even know that they're in there. So between the sugar, which is impossible to resist, and the excitotoxins, we have created a food supply just in the last 150 years. Just in the last 150 years. And by the way, fat should also be thrown into the mix. Fat, sugar, and excitotoxins. We've created a food supply that did not only didn't exist 150 years ago, but has absolutely zero capability. It has zero ability to sustain a human being, to keep a human being operating at peak efficiency. It's not possible. These foods, by the way, are called ultra processed. And if you think about it, the human body in this form is a couple million years old. It was not exactly, but that's when we first came out of the trees, was 2 million years ago, right? If the 2 million year old period of the human body it was a 24-hour clock, and we changed the food supply 150 years ago, that's like changing it at 1 second to midnight. So we existed for 24 hours or 23 hours, 59 minutes and 59 seconds eating a certain way. And then at 1 second to midnight, everything changed. You know what I'm saying? This was just 150 years ago, not even 130, 140 years ago. It all changed. And now there's nothing in the supermarket that existed 150 years ago. Nothing. And you say, oh, well, what about the produce? No, because the soils are all different, and the pesticides and the fertilizer and all the things they spray on they spray in the soil and they spray on the plants. They're all different. Oh, well, the meat. No, the meat is eating all that stuff, and who knows what the meat's getting. There's nothing, not the milk, not the eggs, not the meat, and certainly not all the crackers and chips and breads and all the other stuff that we eat. So, of course, you're going to have an issue. So what do? Here's what you do. First of all, if you eat for palatability, for taste versus nutrition, there's going to be a price to pay. So I'm not going to say don't have any French fries or don't have any, whatever, potato chips or pizza. It's on a spectrum. To the extent you want to be pure, go over here. To the extent you don't, go over here, and you can be anywhere in the middle, wherever you want to be. You want to be 100%, be 100%. You want to be 0%, be 0%, whatever you want. It's up to you, but just know that's a factor. That's going to be a factor. Is the kind of foods you're eating. Secondly, eat as little as possible, and as nutrient dense as possible. And again, if you feel like snacking and you don't want to use little as fine, do it. So just cut your snacks back in half or in a quarter, or not. Remove 10%. You get to decide, but just know that the amount of food you eat is going to have an impact on your metabolism. So number one, the types of food, decide what you want to do. You decide. Number two, the amount of food, again, you decide. Number three, eat as simple, as unprocessed as possible, as raw as possible, with some exceptions for like steaming. Certain vegetables need to be steamed in order to release the nutrients, but try to eat as little as possible. Now, again, you decide. I want to eat 90% French fries and 10% unprocessed. Fine, you decide. I want to eat 10% French fries, 90% unprocessed. You decide, is my point. So you want to, it's the type of foods and the amount of foods that you're eating and the processing of the foods. Those are the kind of three parameters that you want to look at. Yes, go ahead.
Ben, you kill me when you give people choice, and you're such the guy that feels that everybody has a mind and everybody should be able to make their own choices.
Yes.
And I'm with you in principle,
but
I think that a lot of people, there are some people who want it told to them what to do. Tell me what to do, and I'll do it.
You know why? You know what that is? That is, I think that's a way of abdicating responsibility. And I'm all about personal responsibility. I'm all about responsibility. I know I've told this before, but I'll say it again. I asked Dr. Wallach why he called the company American Longevity, right? It used to be called American Longevity before it's called Longevity. And so I asked him about that. And he says it represents his two favorite things. Number one, longevity, because obviously health, longevity. And two, America. What does America mean? What Dr. Wallach told me is it meant you can do this yourself. You can pull yourself up for your bootstraps. How you are today doesn't necessarily determine how you have to be tomorrow. Whether it's your health, whether it's your wealth, whether it's your personal relationships, whether it's your personality or spirituality, whatever it is, you can do this yourself. That's what America represents. And whether it's a myth, maybe it's all BS and it's not true, and I don't know, but that's what people think of when they think of America. I could be anything I want to be. I can be as wealthy as I want to be. I'm not limited by my race or by my family or by my history. I can do anything. And that's the ethos, the philosophy that I want people to have in terms of health, is you can do this yourself. And that's why I take great pains to tell you how it happens. And I do. I spend a lot of time. Sometimes I'll spend, sometimes we'll answer one question or two questions on daily
It's
thought.
not going to happen tonight. We got plenty of questions. But just my last point to our main topic is a lot of the influencers on YouTube, etc., seem to think that there was a demarcation from 1960 or thereabouts to today in the food supply and the ultra processed revolution. I'm guessing they're saying started somewhere around 1960.
It depends on how you look at it. You know what the first process of food was? It was when we took grains and we took a rock and we broke open the grain and released the carbohydrate inside. Grains aren't edible. You have to break them. You got to smash them. That was the first processed food. And by the way, our health started to decline from that point. Do you know in the Middle Ages, it's only been the last 100 years that we started to get bigger. For a long time, we were like 5'2", the average height was 5'3", 5'5", 5'6", kind of thing. It's only been the last 100 years or so that our heights have gotten bigger. In the Middle Ages, the beds were ridiculously small. If you ever go to a museum and you see what houses look like in the Middle Ages, the beds were really small. And so right around 10,000 years ago, our caveman ancestors, they were burly. They were big. They had muscles. They were out there. And then after we figured out how to do agriculture, our health really started to decline. And we started to get a lot of diseases, chronic diseases, diabetes, obesity, cancer. A lot of these diseases are diseases of agriculture and grains. So the first processing of foods, that was the first process. The real revolution took place in the turn of the 20th century, the late 1800s, when we figured out how to do a couple things. Number one, we figured out how to hydrogenate oil. And hydrogenation of oil is where you take oil and you make it stiff artificially, like butter. When you make it stiff, in order to make it stiff artificially, you've got to distort it. And distorted fats are a major health problem because fats control inflammation. So once you ingest distorted fats, enough distorted fats, it's impossible not to inflame, particularly at the level of the gut. That started at the turn of the 20th century with Crisco, which is cottonseed oil that was hydrogenated, pumped with hydrogen into it, so it became stiff. And that allowed people to cook it or heat it, and then it would solidify again. They could heat it and solidify, and restaurants love this because they could just use the same oil. When I was well, I don't want to digress and tell stories here. But so anyway, so that's one thing.
Digressions, but
that's
tons of questions.
When I was a kid, I worked in this bar. It was a bar. It was a beer place where you just dispense beer and made sandwiches. And there was French fry. They had French fries there, and the French fry grease never got changed. And then after, I don't know, months, finally we decided we were going to change the French fry grease. And this girl who was like known for being a real nasty girl, she was real short and she was bossy and mean and everything. We were carrying, and she dumped the whole French fry grease on her head. It wasn't hot, thankfully, but it was all over. And I'll never forget seeing that grease, that menthol grease. And it's just disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. But restaurants loved it, and also gives food flavor. There's some restaurants that are proud they don't change the grease. It gives the food flavor. Anyway, that's happened at the turn of the 20th century, and that's that's a big disaster. Then sugar became very cheap, and it became abundant. It was very easy to work with sugar, and sugar became subsidized. And so our ingestion of sugar skyrocketed right around the turn of the 20th century, and also our ability to process carbohydrates with extrusion machines, cracker making machines, and cereal making machines. And so the industrialization of food that took place at the turn of the 20th century, the early part of the 20th century, involved carbohydrates and fats, and that was really when our health declined dramatically. Just really dramatically, and it's been going down. It's been going south ever since, dramatically. So I don't know what happened in 1960, but it just, things progress, and as our ability to manipulate chemistry progressed, we developed these excitotoxins. There's a place in Philadelphia called the Mennel Institute. I think it's called the Mennel Institute, and they study. It's funded by the food companies and by the drug companies, both of them, and they study the molecules in various foods. And what molecules can be used synthetically, pharmacologically almost, in ultra-processed foods to keep you eating. That's what the hyperpalatable foods are. And that really got going probably in the 1960s in a big way, 70s, So, the case can be made for that. But really it was processing oils and carbohydrates at the turn of the 20th century. That's when it really, really got going.
Pharmacist Ben, I'm going to bring Elise on. She's going to ask her question, but before Elise...
Hi, Elise.
Before she asks...
Hello.
Hello.
Your volume down if you can.
She's got a nice, clear voice there.
Yeah,
that's
does.
awesome, Elise. Are you on a microphone?
AJ, I can't hear very well, but I just have a really quick question.
Wait.
I have a client who...
Where are you calling from first?
Is 77 years... What was that?
Where are you calling from? Where are you calling from?
California.
Where are you? California. Whereabouts?
Modesto,
Whereabouts?
Central Valley.
Central Valley. Okay, near Santa Cruz. Okay, good.
Close.
All right.
About an hour and a half away.
Okay, cool. I love that area. Beautiful area. Okay, go ahead, Nat. Talk to me.
I have a client who is 77 years old, approximately 250 pounds, and she suffers with a lot of neuropathy and kidney disease. Stage 2, I guess it would be considered.
Okay, so she's 77, and how tall is she?
5'3".
Okay, so she's got some serious metabolic issues. She doesn't have her problem's not neuropathy. The neuropathy is what she notices, and it's, for people who don't have neuropathy, they should know it's one of the most agonizing things you could ever have. It's like you have a fire in your feet or your hands or wherever she has it. It's awful. And then you said, what was the other thing you said? You said one more thing. What was the other thing you said?
Kidney disease.
Neuropathy. Kidney disease.
Stage 2.
Okay, stage 2. All right. So that's just what you're seeing. She has, where's AJ? AJ disappeared. AJ, tell Elise, do you know what MBFA disease is?
My body's falling apart.
She has MBFA disease. And they're trying, and the stupidity of the medical model and our participation, it's not just the people in the medical model, it's our participation. By the way, you know what the word patient means? Patient, it means one who suffers. That's what the word patient means. One who suffers. And that's the position we put ourselves in because we keep going back to these knuckleheads. They're not going to do anything for her. There's nothing they can do for her. What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. They're looking at the rotten apple in the tree, and they're going to fix the rotten apple somehow by spray painting it so it doesn't look rotten anymore. It's in the fruit. It's in the soil. So she has a major metabolic problem. She's 5'3", 250. She must have an amazing, amazing life force. She must be. Do you know her?
Yes.
You know her. So is she like a really powerful, dynamic person?
Absolutely. She's sitting right 100%. Here next to me.
How do I know she's a powerful, dynamic person? Put her on. What do you mean she's sitting right there? Put her on.
Lucille, come on.
Okay, go ahead.
Don't be shy.
Hello.
Hi there. You know how I knew you're a powerful, dynamic person? And I can see already. You're a powerhouse because you should not be able to still be functioning with that kind of biochemistry. That should have knocked you out a long time ago. But the fact that you're still here and kicking, that tells me you got spunk, as they say. You are a powerhouse because that's a lot of biochemistry that you're running up against. Your problem is sugar, sweetheart, period. Now, before sugar, there's also probably some digestive issues going on in there. But the most direct place to work is your sugar, your blood sugar. There's also some digestive things that need to work here. Your problem is not the kidneys in the sense that you can fix the kidneys, but you're still going to have the problem. I mean, you can't fix the kidneys. You can hide the kidneys. They can't do anything for your kidneys. There's nothing they can do for the kidneys. The neuropathy, they can give you painkillers, or they'll give you something called gabapentin. Do they give you gabapentin?
That's what I'm taking.
Yeah, they give you.
That's what I'm taking.
They do. Because they don't know what the heck to do. I'm telling you how you solve the problem. Gabapentin's not solving the problem, and the kidneys, they can't even do anything for that. Your problem's your sugar, ma'am. Your blood sugar. Now, there's also problems probably in the digestive system that I said, but first things first, start treating yourself. I don't know if you've been diagnosed as a diabetic. You certainly are dysglycemic, messed up blood sugar. You haven't been diagnosed, fine. Doesn't matter. You are, just by your symptoms. It doesn't matter the name of it. It matters the chemistry. Your blood sugar is whacked. And once the blood sugar is whacked, it changes the thyroid. It changes your estrogen. It changes your cortisol. It changes your digestive functioning. It changes your body. It changes your vasculature and it changes everything. So you can cut the head off the snake. You follow what I'm saying? You can end it right here. Boom, done. Or you can figure out how to feed the snake and put the snake in a nice little cage and make sure it doesn't bite. Or you can cut the head off. There, you go to doctors endlessly. There ain't nothing that they can do. Zippo, nada. But you can cut the head off the snake. And that would require focusing on the kinds of foods you're eating. You don't want foods that spike your blood sugar. I don't know if that means anything. Do you know what I'm saying, Elise? Are you a health coach, Elise?
Yes.
Okay, you don't want anything spiking the blood sugar. Everything has to be stable as best as you can. So if you do eat sweets, and you probably shouldn't eat any sweets, but if you do have something sweet, have it with fiber. Drink lots of water. Have it with protein and fat rather than just having a straight candy or cake or something like that. So you soften the blow. When your sugar gets into the system quickly, it messes everything up. So that's the first thing I would be doing. Healthy blood sugar pack, maybe, if you want to use the nutrient, if you want to use the micronutrients. And then also there's some additional things that aren't in the healthy blood sugar pack that can help you, like the ultimate niacin. There's a really cool supplement called alpha lipoic acid, which I don't know if we have it in any of our formulations. You might want to look into that. That can be very helpful. And then first thing in the morning and first thing in the morning, drink 32 ounces of, actually put Beyond Tangy Tangerine in and drink 32 ounces of Beyond Tangy Tangerine water, but do it slowly, like throughout the morning or something like that, so you don't get it all at once. And anything you can do to reduce your blood sugar. Now, later on, if you're going to want to work on digestive health, because there's probably some digestive issues there too, I imagine, and you're going to want to work on that. But first things first, treat yourself like a diabetic, even if you have not been diagnosed as such. Okay, and you know what? Your blood pressure will drop. You'll lose weight. You'll have more energy. It'll be easier on your bones. Your neuropathy will disappear. You're going to feel like a new person.
Well, my blood pressure is 118/78.
118 over 78?
Yeah.
Good for you. Good for you. That's awesome.
Yeah, and
That's
when
awesome.
I take my poke my finger, because my daughter has diabetes,
Yeah.
it's never high. It's always
No,
either
no.
90 or 110.
Yeah, let me explain that to you, and everybody else
Okay.
here. Listen to this. Sugar is controlled by insulin.
Right.
Insulin is the real problem when your blood sugar is elevated. Blood sugar is a problem. Don't get me wrong. That's very caustic. It burns the vessels, etc. But insulin throws all the chemistry off. And there's no way to test for insulin because it's constantly fluctuating. They'll test your sugar, but they don't test the insulin. And you can't test the insulin. So the problem is your insulin will make it look like your sugar is controlled, but it's only controlled because your insulin's high. You follow me? And you can tell your insulin is high by your symptoms, particularly the weight. Insulin is a weight gain hormone. It makes you gain weight. And that's why as we age, that typically happens. You know, how many people you know when they're 40 have the same weights they did when they were 20, right? Or 15? Never. Right. Because insulin, in our culture, insulin goes up and up and up and up. So you can't go by your blood sugar. You got to go by your insulin. You can't test your insulin, but you can go by your symptoms. So you have all the symptoms of what's called all the signs of what's called metabolic syndrome. Are you familiar with that? You know, Becca wrote a book on it actually, called Metabolic Syndrome. And what's your name, ma'am? I'm sorry, I didn't hear your name. What's your name?
Lucille.
Lucille has all the symptoms of metabolic. Lucille? Yeah, has all the symptoms of metabolic syndrome. That's how I'd be working. Get her the book, or you should look at the book, Elise. Okay?
Absolutely.
Okie
Yes.
dokie.
Also,
thank you.
Show her
Thank
the
you.
Triangle of Disease website. Get her on that. That will have some great information as to this. Elise, thank you for being part of the team and family. We love seeing you, and good to meet the lovely lady with you.
Thanks,
Thanks, Lucille.
Lucille.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, Elise.
Bye.
All right, Pharmacist Ben, that was helpful for everyone who heard this. Quick question. What's your opinion on eating raw meat?
The best way to eat your meat, but you know, you got to make sure. Yeah, it's the best way. You know, the enzymes. You know, maybe yes, the amino acids. You might, you know, it's when you cook meat to the extent you cook it, you lose the enzymes, and then the aminos, they're released a little bit more effectively when the food is cooked slightly. So you got to kind of figure out where you want to be, but raw meat is definitely good stuff. Steak tartare.
Didn't quite expect to hear that.
Yeah.
So
you got to make sure it's clean, of course, and all that. But yes, that's
how
good
do you
stuff.
make sure it's clean?
Well, you got to make sure you're buying it from a reputable butcher, and you know, you're not just gonna. It's not roadkill or something.
Mm-hmm. I'm being told to turn up my volume. I don't really have the option to do that, so I will try and speak closer to the microphone, Annie. Another question, and that was from Hunter. Another question that might be semi-quick is Dylan wants to know, does water need to be remineralized with mineral drops if he's drinking reverse osmosis water?
No, it doesn't need to be, but it's not going to hurt you. No, you don't. Water is not our main source of minerals. You know, there's minerals in spring water, that are probably good for you if you're going to do spring water. Of course, you don't know where the springs are, so it's, and there's no. I like reverse osmosis the best and distilled the best. That's my personal preference. Get your minerals from veggies, from your plant-derived minerals, and there's lots of places to get minerals. You don't need to get it from water.
Okay, we're gonna bring on. Okay, so now just as far as you mentioning that raw meat is the best, Olga's asking, do we need to do a parasite cleanse after eating raw meat?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You got to make sure you got to make sure. That's why I say you got to make sure it's clean, because you're not cooking. Usually you would cook things away. Parasites are interesting. There's definitely parasitic in hookworm and tapeworm and such, but there's this kind of thing about parasites. People claim that they have parasites, and I'm a little skeptical about that, like digestive parasites, because parasites are actually part of your microbiome. They're part of your natural, the universe of organisms that live in your body.
Right, but a tapeworm is not, right?
No, that's right. That's what I say. There are those kinds of parasites for sure. But when people say I have parasites in my digestive system, and that's why I had this rash, I don't know. I need to see more than that, more proof than that. Because parasites are part of the microbiome. So just because something's a parasite doesn't mean some evil bloodsucker like a tapeworm. I don't know if you've ever seen those things. Those are evil. Those are nasty.
Those things are pretty evil.
Yeah, those are really nasty.
We are going to bring on health coach Mary, who has a question.
Hi, Mary.
Mary, do you have?
Hi, Ben.
Hi, I love your place.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
It's the second time we've talked in a week, and the first time I was at the beach. I had my beach background.
Oh yeah, your beach background. You're mixing it up on us. You're mixing it up.
Trying to keep it spicy.
All right. What's going on? Where are you really? What part of the world are you in really?
The Midwest.
Okay. I see why you're doing that then. So are you from Chicago? Are you in Chicago?
No, Ohio.
Ohio, gotcha. What town?
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati. Is it true there ain't no sin in Cincinnati?
I doubt it.
All right. Well,
okay.
Let's go.
All right. So let's go for it. I've got a couple people with degenerative diseases, more in the joints, back, hip, and the like. Since you've talked connective tissue.
Older people?
I would say 50s, 60s.
Okay, that's
70s.
not old enough. Okay, 70s you're starting to get out there, but 50s is not old enough. So a couple things. First,
so let me ask you a quick question.
Sure.
Is does it take longer to build the cartilage versus the tendons and ligaments and
all of that,
tissues?
All that's harder to build because the cartilage they're not vascularized. There's not a lot of blood there.
Okay.
So they're a little trickier to build. Not that it can't be done. It can definitely be done. But most importantly, you don't want to try and build it you don't want to try and bail water out of a leaky boat. So if you have stuff that's getting into the system that's inflaming it or causing degradation of the collagen, causing it to break down, or there's a sedentary lifestyle, or all these other factors that are leading to degradation, and then you're trying to build at the same time, you're not going to get anywhere. It's like bailing water out of a leaky boat. So you got to approach it from both angles. The connective tissue, the tendons, the cartilage, all that is collectively called the connective tissue. That is a sieve for the blood. It filters the blood. So as the blood is winding through, the waste from the blood, the toxins from the blood, the acids from the blood, all the immune factors from the blood, they get dumped in the connective tissue. And so as we age, that's what happens. Now, I read this article. I don't know if you heard me reading this, but collagen breakdown is a common occurrence as we age. And that's what all these people are dealing with. So you got to approach it from a couple of different angles. First of all, there's a few different angles. So first of all, you got to stop the stream of toxicity that's getting into the blood, and that's always digestive. And you know how to do that. If you're a health coach, you know how to do that.
Yeah.
But you don't want to underestimate the importance of that. Number two, you got to stop the sugar because the sugar is also inflammatory and destroys connective tissue. So you got to patch up the gut and you got to reduce the sugar. Treat yourself like a diabetic and work on dysbiosis, the whole digestive thing, and that's the triangle of disease. First 2 points on the triangle of disease. So that has to be addressed. Then you want to put the building substances, the raw material into the body, the collagen peptides, the glucosamine, the vitamin C, The essential fatty acids are not necessarily directly related to structure, but they're involved in the production of structure.
Mm-hmm.
And then all your minerals. Then that's your healthy bone and joint pack.
Mm-hmm.
And also I would throw in the Fucoid Z.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third element, and this is very important for everybody really, but especially as we get older, is body work. Because your shoulder is the end result of your little toe. You could have a callus on your little toe that's making you walk funny, and that could end up causing you hip problems, back problems, shoulder problems, neck problems, and it's your little toe in the very end. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like the very end of your body. Not to mention if you have your hips messed up, that's going to affect your back. If you have your knees messed up, that's going to affect your hips. So body work is very, very important. And the best body work for all this is rolfing, R-O-L-F-I-N-G. Because when you rolf, they break up connective scar tissue and fibroids. And if you had surgeries, the problem's even worse. If you had leg surgeries or bone surgeries or hip surgeries, hip replacements, because after surgeries, you get adhesions. Adhesions are sticky tissue and fibrosis, hard tissue that keeps the stuff from moving correctly. And that can cause further problems down the road. And that can even cause organ problems because it'll shift how organs are positioned. And that's going to change how organs function. So scar tissue and fibrosis and walking funny and holding yourself weird, as we age, these things happen. And body work, rolfing in particular, is incredibly valuable. So stop the stream of toxicity, work on the glycation, use the building block nutrients, the healthy bone and joint pack, the TMR shake, the Fucoid Z, anything you do to build the bone, build the connective tissue, and then also body work.
Okay. And how about water? Do you need
water
to
is
drink
incredibly important. Absolutely,
Okay.
incredibly important. It could not be more important. But it's not just water; it's tide water, bound water. If you're just drinking water, but you don't have the binding, the minerals bind, the polysaccharides like from fucoidin bind, the collagen building and collagen bind. If you don't have the binding, you're not going to get the value out of the water, except for maybe flushing. You'll get the flushing; it'll help flush things, but it won't integrate into your tissues as well as if you have all these other things going. But you still get these flushing effect, and that's still good.
Okay.
And a lot of times we're hungry. We think we're hungry when we're really dehydrated.
Right.
And a lot of hunger cravings can be met by drinking 32 ounces of water. A large amount of water, not just a sip, but a really large amount of water, so it fills your belly. A lot of hunger pangs or the urge to snack or the urge to eat can be reduced by making sure you're hydrated effectively. And it takes a lot of water, like 32 ounces of water.
Do you think you need to drink half your body weight in water?
Those are just kind of rules of thumb. It won't hurt you though. A gallon a day, half a gallon a day, a lot. And vegetable juice is the best water, by the way. Vegetable juice, because that's structured.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Right. Thank you so much. Nice to see you.
Mary.
Can't wait to see what your next background is, Mary.
I know. Well, it was going to be Denver, but I didn't get a chance to make it out there.
Oh, that would have been nice.
I was going to check you out, but
don't get the homeless people. Don't get the homeless people under the bridge.
Oh my God. I'll see.
Okay. All right.
Have a good one. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Pharmacist Ben. Mary is my first 1-star. Rock and roll. Before I ask your question, please type in the chat that you are still watching and with us. Now, Luda, I'd love for Luda.
Where's Luda?
Click the link. I'm gonna put
Luda has one of those names like you know who she is.
Yeah, you know who.
Like
Luda
one of those first, like Madonna.
Right. I think she told me once that she had been following you for years. Or you may have told me. But if Luda, you can click the link and you can come on and ask your question.
I'd love to see Luda. I don't think I've ever seen her.
Okay, and then Notorious, while we wait to hear if Rock and Roll is still watching us, I do want to give a shout out to all our folks on Rumble. We got 40 folks watching live right now on Rumble, and I appreciate every single one of you. A lot of the folks on Rumble are getting the newsletter, so they are Critical Health News faithful. And
Nice.
Rumble is the place where we are able to speak freely. So I love Rumble and all of you folks that are on it. And I love YouTube, obviously. I love them all. But now, Steph has a question. Rock and roll. Please let us know if you're still watching. Steph says, I noticed the combination of green tea, taurine, and ginseng in many energy drinks, which makes my gut feel better. Is there something special about this combo that you can speak?
Taurine is stabilizes energy. So you'll find it in like Red Bull caffeine drinks. Kind of has a stabilizing effect on electrical energy. It can be used for seizure disorders, which are kind of related to disturbances in electrical energy. It's also important for the heart. So you'll see that in energy drinks. Ginseng is kind of like a pick-me-up. Green tea is also pick-me-up, a small amount of caffeine. And what was the other one? There was another one she said. Theanine?
Taurine, green tea, and ginseng.
Yeah, those are all green tea and ginseng are like kind of energizers, we'll say. And then taurine kind of stabilizes the energy. Taurine, Red Bull gets its name because it has taurine. Taurine was originally found in bulls. Taur means bull, Taurus, like Taurus the bull.
Rock and roll, are you with us? I did not hear from Rock and roll. I'm going to ask his question anyway. I have a friend who has a phobia to fly. Is there anything she can take before she boards the plane to help her?
A few things. Melatonin, if you're traveling long distances, that'll help. You don't want to take it in the daytime. If you're traveling like have time zone issues. GABA, GABA, great relaxing. Theanine, THEANINE. Longevity has probably has some relaxing kinds of supplements, don't they?
They do, but it sounds like what you just mentioned is kind of like in the HGH youth complex. So it sounds like there's a
is there GABA in there?
There is GABA an amino? Yeah, GABA's in there.
GABA's in the HGH product?
Is it an amino?
It's not quite an amino. It's like a derivative. Gamma amino. It's called gamma amino. You could say it's an amino. It's not like a typical amino acid. It's a butyr. It's a fatty. It's an aminated fatty acid. It's an amino on a fatty acid. Does that have GABA in it?
It does have GABA in it. Look at it.
How much?
See that. Look at that.
How much GABA?
It doesn't have an amount. All the total.
I like this better.
The total. I bet you do. That's the way it should be. Between arginine and the other ones that I can't. Tyrosine, GABA, glycine, arginine.
How much GABA? How much GABA?
The total of these 9 or so is 1950 milligrams.
Now, how much GABA though?
They don't isolate it.
Oh, they don't isolate it. Got it. No, I would take like a gram or two of GABA, and that'll help put you to sleep. Tryptophan. These are all relaxing. Inositol, glycine. These are all relaxing nutrients. I don't know that we have one product that is a relaxing product except for the Sleepies. The Sleepies, by the way, is amazing. Or not the melatonin gummies. Have you had those melatonin gummies?
No, I would not do that. No,
they're amazing.
Yeah,
melatonin is a super underappreciated molecule. We'll talk about melatonin next week, or maybe we'll do Friday.
I need to wake up at the drop of a hat, man. I can't be like
melatonin is beyond just helping you sleep. Way beyond.
I've heard you mention that.
It's super important.
Let's.
It's part of the stress. You have a stress response. You have stress response biochemistry that's rooted in what's called the melanocortin system. The melanocortin system is not melatonin, it's melanin and cortisol. Melatonin is a little bit different. Melatonin helps, melatonin means controls pigment. And so melatonin has a sort of pigment balancing effect. It balances out stress is what it does. Pigmentation being part of the stress response. Melatonin is an anti-stress molecule. You don't want to overdose on it and just take it like it's candy. but it does help balance out the stress response. And as we age, our melatonin naturally drops. Our melatonin is made in the pineal gland largely. Well, it's made in a lot of places. What's that?
You beat me to it. I was just going to bring
that. It's
a
pineal hormone. And people are dealing with calcification of the pineal gland as they get older. And cortisol, that thing is secreted in abundance. And melatonin kind of antagonizes cortisol. It's very important as we age.
Pharmacist Ben, we got another question. This is from Denise. And by the way, I used, I always use your lines, right? But I used another one of your lines today.
Which was?
Vote for Pharmacist Ben for president so that everyone can get a hot tub.
In their backyard, on the government. Best healthcare there is. Best healthcare.
Everyone gets a hot tub. Like we're on.
Best Obamacare. Best healthcare is a hot tub in the backyard.
So, Denise, I'd appreciate if Pharmacist Ben would talk about. Okay, a couple questions here. I'd appreciate if Pharmacist Ben would talk about heavy metal toxicity, and I hope you like my Yoda or my the Star Wars thing I just did, like this.
The Jedi mind trick that you just pulled on me?
Yeah, that's what it's called. Okay, I'd appreciate.
You did a Jedi mind trick? Is that what you did?
I just did. Look at that.
You are funny.
I'd appreciate if Pharmacist Ben would talk about heavy metal toxicity. We get sprayed every evening at dusk with checkerboard chemtrails over our house.
Oh, yeah.
We're breathing this stuff in regularly. Yeah. Please help. Also, relieving lower back inflammation and pain. I suffer from inflammation, my lower back, wrenching, gym
body work. Get rolfed. Get rolfed.
MRIs and ultrasound indicate missing cartilage in L4, L3. 15 rounds of physical therapy exacerbated. Topical DMSO helped a little. And lumbar.
You're not going to be able to DMSO that away. You're not going to DMSO.
Lumbar, epidural. What do you think about rolfing?
Rolfing's the best, but I don't know about the cartilage. You'd have to see Rolfing's the best. There's no way I could tell you how amazing rolfing is in words alone. It's the best by far body work there is.
Okay.
It can be a little uncomfortable if you have a lot of scar tissue, but you'll feel like $1 million when you're done.
Okay, well,
it's amazing.
Some of the guests we have on Daily with Doc talk about some of these things. You really need to have you. I know you're busy. But really, sometimes I think it'd be beneficial if you're there when we have some of these guests, just because you can bring a little context and a little deeper insight.
You mean when on Daily Talk when there's somebody else is hosting kind of thing?
Well, when we have someone else talking about a topic, because we have a particular guy that does body work. He does rolfing. Ruth Ellen and Becca talk about how they cry after getting on the table, but when they leave the table, they feel great.
Exactly right.
Just like some of these things. Okay, so, but by the way, this woman is saying electrotherapy she's asking about. She doesn't say she takes the 90, but she's saying I take bromelain, Boswellia, Omega XL.
What are we treating here? The back? Is this the back pain?
This is the back pain and detox.
You are not going to treat back pain away. You're not going to treat that away. The back, think of what the back is doing. The back is connected to every other part of the skeletal system. I'm saying your little toe affects your back. How you walk. You can't just take bromelain. That's not how it works. Not that bromelain's not help. Bromelain can do certain things. Bromelain is an anti-inflammatory for sure. It has pain relieving properties, but you got to correct the frame. As we age, we become crooked. And when you're crooked, you start to put forces on areas that shouldn't have forces, or you put forces incorrectly or out of balance. It just throws everything off. And that's what back pain is. So you got to have body work done. I would do the healthy bone. I would be on the healthy bone and joint pack. She just said she didn't mention the healthy bone and joint pack. I would definitely do that. Glucogel, which is like a miracle. Hyaluronic acid, TMR shake, collagen peptides. That would be my strategy. Fucoidan, and then lots of water or lots of Beyond Tangerine water, structured water, vegetable juices, and then also she asked about heavy metal. What does she want to know about heavy metals?
How to detox or cleanse from
Digestive health. You've got to they're eliminated out of the intestine. Heavy metals. Now, heavy metals deposit in tissues too. So once they're in tissues, the only way to do it is to chelate them. And the best chelating agent is right here. That's your heavy metal detox right here. One of the best heavy metal detox there are plant-derived colloidal minerals and ionic minerals.
Let me ask you a question.
They're nature's natural heavy metal detox. That's first of all. And that's why it's always cracks me up when people say, oh, there's arsenic and there's aluminum, blah, blah, blah. This is the heavy metal detox. This is not a source of heavy metals. This is heavy metal detox. Also vitamin C, selenium, MSM sulfur, NaC. All these are fucoidin. All these chelate. Chelate means to magnetically pull out heavy metals. Bromelain doesn't pull out heavy metals, but it'll clean your blood.
Okay.
It might actually chelate. I'm not sure about that.
Quick question about Tangy Tangerine. If I put 1 scoop in a gallon of water, am I going to get any effect?
You drink the whole gallon.
If I drink the whole gallon,
yeah, of course you will.
Am I going to get the same effect as I would if I put it in 16 ounces of water?
Absolutely. As long as you're getting the nutrient, as long as you're getting the same amount, doesn't matter. You put it in 10 gallons of water. If you drink the 10 gallons, you're going to get all the nutrients.
Thank you, my friend. Okay, so let me tell you about Olga. Olga traveled from the UK to Sedona, Arizona, to be with the longevity crew over the weekend.
Okay.
So talk about someone
Olga,
who
thank you.
is
She's dedicated. Olga C., what about Luda's question?
Motivated and dedicated and keeping me on task because I totally almost forgot about Luda's question because Luda didn't come on screen. Here we go. Luda, how can you rebuild root tooth inside the gum?
Anything anabolic. I imagine how you build the root tooth. You mean the tooth's root?
The tooth's
right?
root.
The root. It probably has to do with embedding in the gum and the gum's connective tissue. It's about the connective tissue. So the root sticks in, and I'm not a tooth. I don't know a lot about the teeth, and I don't know about a lot of dental stuff. But the tooth is embedded in the connective tissue, the gum, at the level of the root. The root is embedded in the gum, and probably there's other forms of connective tissue there too. Build connective tissue, Luda. Now, as we age, and Luda, you're not old. I think Luda's only in her 30s, but it starts to break down. Our connective tissue breaks down. That's one of the ways that aging manifests itself. It's a connective tissue condition. So you don't rebuild the root, you support the connective tissue so it can hold on to the root. Build connective tissue. Green Bear said, inversion tables are great. Inversion devices and inversion tables are awesome. Absolutely awesome.
Thank you, Green Bear on Rumble and Pharmacist Ben. I really appreciate you spending all the time with us.
Thank you. I got to motivate. It's late. I did 3. This is my 3rd hour of longevity.
But your best hour, of course.
The best. That's because of you and Becca. And who else did we talk to? The coach, Coach Mary.
Coach
M.
And
Elise, Coach Elise.
We had Elise
and Lucille.
You're just all over it. And we talked about raw meat, and we talked about mineralizing water. And folks, Pharmacist Ben will be here all week, and his final act of the week will be on Friday on Daily with Doc.
Daily with Doc.
3 p.m.
All right.
Eastern. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Pharmacist Ben, any parting words?
We can do this. All you got to do is be willing, and B, just make a few lifestyle modifications. And any chronic degenerative disease is reversible. To the extent, as far, you may be far down the rabbit hole that it may take a while to completely reverse, but you can start the reversal process today. Tonight, right after this call, you can start the reversal process. Get on the BTT.
Thanks, Pharmacist Ben.
Thank you, everybody.